Hiya 10, today as promised I'm going to model for you basically how to apply what I taught you yesterday about how to approach your comparison essays for poetry. So the made up question that we're going to do is compare the way the writer presents power in hawk roosting with a poem of your choice. So this will not be coming your way for your own essay. So I'm going to take you through how we can get from this question to an essay. So the first thing we obviously need to do is choose our comparison poem, which is what we spoke about yesterday. So I've got three options that I'm kind of going to go through, and I'm just sort of showing you my working out. Like I said, you don't need to write all this down. It can just be in your head, but these are the things that you can be considering. So firstly, for afternoons, it's a poem that I know really well and I really enjoy, so I think I'll enjoy writing about it. I've used a shorthand of S&D for similarities and differences because it is important, as well as thinking about a range, to also think about, you know, is everything a difference or is everything a similarity, which is very unlikely, because obviously if you've got a variety, you're more likely to write a good comparison essay. So similarities I can think of off the top of my head very quickly for afternoons were the power of nature and time are in both poems. Larkin focuses more on the power of society to restrict people. That's not really present in Hawke. And both poems sort of cover the powerlessness of people, but obviously Hughes does that in a slightly different way to Larkin, so it's a similarity and a difference. Context is interesting because they are similar time periods as well. My next thought was Ozymandias or Ozymandias. So again, know the poem really well. Similarity, power of nature and time, and how they are the ultimate sources of power. Both poets say that. A difference is that in Hawke, it's more focused on the idea that power sustains power. Obviously, in Ozzy, power ends. The reign ends. He dies. The legacy goes away. His statue is broken. And also another similarity is that power makes people arrogant. And the context is very different time periods. And I think with Ozzy and Hawke, it's very easy to link the time periods to the differences in the poems. When Shelley's living in the middle of this great empire, he's not going to feel like, you know, the power is good. He wants to fight for power to end, obviously, whereas Hughes has seen that dictators can fall, but he's really wanting to highlight that this is a potential power in all of us to become this sort of horrible dictator, the dark side of nature. And my third potential option is Dulce. Yes, I do know the poem, but I haven't taught it this year so far, so it wouldn't be as strong in my thoughts as Ozzy and Afternoons, which I have obviously taught you. Differences, power of war, gas, lies, propaganda in Dulce aren't really considered in Hawk Roosting. We've also got the power of death in Dulce. And the only similarity I could think of was that when people are what people are capable of when they have power, and obviously in Dulce the power comes from weapons or war itself. The context is also so different that it would be quite difficult, I think. So I would discount Dulce. I don't think it's a very good example. It would be something you would only do if you had not revised any other poem. Now, for the sake of today's lesson, I think probably the best choice here is Ozzy. However, because I'm going to give you Afternoons as your named poem for your own essay, I'm actually going to choose Afternoons just so it's a bit more of a model for you and a bit more of a guide for the kind of things you can talk about in your own essay. However, I'm not going to give you the theme of power, so obviously you'll have to adapt it, but I just thought it'd be more useful for you to see me use Afternoons. And there's not much in it. You can write a really good essay on both, using both of these poems. Okay, so for Afternoons then, building on what I kind of wrote in that box on the last page, which should be on the slide, there we go. I've kind of just done my very quick 3 sort of lines of argument to plan my essay. So the fact that both poems suggest nature can't be stopped. Hughes inspired by the dictators of his time. Larkin being cynical and people being trapped in their lifestyles. Hughes more focused on showing that nature can be negative. We've also got that Larkin's more focused on how society has power over individuals, which is not really something that Hughes looks at. He looks at how some people are born naturally with more power. And Larkin presents a lack of power in parents, whereas Hughes is sort of, he doesn't look at these small units of family, does he, or small roles. He looks at the wider scale. You know, some people are born with power, others are not. Hughes is far more like bigger picture looking at this, whereas Larkin is sort of interrogating. Sorry, he's not. That's a really poor choice of words in my plan there. He's not interrogating his own time period. He's actually just presenting it, isn't he? I think Hughes interrogates power a lot more than Larkin does. So ignore that word. That is complete rubbish. Okay, so that is an example of the type of sort of notes you can make as part of your plan before you start writing. You don't need to write these down, but it's just to guide you. Right, so yesterday we talked about the do's of how to write a good overview, and we said that you need to show you understand the heart of each poem, you need to use comparative connectors, and you need to keep it short. So, can you now write for me in your yellow books? In fact, can you make sure you've got the overall title, Modelling Miss Bird, and then can you write overview as a subheading? So if you just jot this overview down as a kind of model example. So both poems present nature as being the ultimate source of power, though Hughes investigates this more closely, whilst Larkin simply presents how powerless people in the 1950s were. Sorry, I just need to let my cat out the room, so that gives you time to write it down. Okay, so why is this a good overview? Firstly, if you can label this up for me, we've got an immediate focus on comparison because we've got both poems. We pin down meanings in both poems, so yes, they do both present nature as being an ultimate source of power, and that is important. So we're pinning the heart of the poem. There's a focus on the question because we've got the word power in there. We then move on to consider a difference. Remember, every similarity has a difference, and it's not very thorough or sustained if you say that both poets are exactly the same. There's always a difference. So Hughes investigates this more closely. Yes, he does. He does investigate power and nature and whether it's a good thing. It's still focused on comparison by saying more closely. So we're still comparing. And then we've got a kind of key difference between the two poems. So we're kind of getting into AO2 here, thinking about the methods each writer chooses. Larkin just presents his society. He presents this powerlessness. He doesn't protest against it or kind of, he just leaves us feeling helpless at the end of it, doesn't he? Whereas Hughes is investigating it. He wants to teach us something. He wants to highlight something to us about that we need to be aware of this fact. We need to really be mindful of what people are capable of naturally. And then we've also got this little embedded context of 1950s. So that's just a nice little addition. So you got your context in already. Oh, and it's all only in one sentence. Woohoo! All right, so make sure you've got that fully annotated as an example overview and try to do the same in your own overviews next lesson. Right, what I did was I wrote my essay. I wrote it in about 25 minutes, and I thought that was realistic because I was typing for starters, and I am quick. I think I'm a faster typer than I am writer, and also I'd done my plan, hadn't I? So that would have sort of taken me about 5 minutes in an exam. So I thought that was about realistic for an exam situation. What I've done as well is I've tracked the changes so that you can see how I've altered or checked my work. And I've kind of annotated why that's the case. So what I'd like you to do now, well, there's one more slide I want to take you through, but when I finish that, I want you to go through and read my example essay. And then what I've also sent you is I've sort of marked one of the paragraphs so you can see all the different skills that have gone into it. And then, so just follow the instructions on Show My Homework for how to use that. And I've also attached to Show My Homework an exemplar from the board. This is literally from the exam board. They used it as part of their training for staff last year. And it's the year I was talking about. So it's the year where Wife in London was compared. And they compare it to The Soldier, which was a good, strong choice. So what I'd like you to do is read it and just think about which band you think it belongs to. You don't need to write anything down or annotate it or anything like that, because tomorrow, next lesson, I'm going to send you the annotated version. So you by the time you come to write your own essay, obviously you'll have my example and you've also got this one as well. And hopefully that'll guide you as to how to build your own essay. if you've got any lasting concerns about how to write your own essay, after you've finished this video and you've read through those examples, can you please let me know? Just contact me. I'm happy to do another lesson teaching you things and delay writing it till next lesson, the following lesson, sorry, if there's any gaps or if you feel like you're not ready. So please just keep talking to me and let me know. All right, guys, take care. Bye.